Hello and welcome to All Things Trentside, a new podcast that is dedicated to all things Nottingham Forest. Hopefully these podcasts will fill the void left by not having Forest on a Saturday or a Tuesday night, and hopefully when football comes back I'll be able to do more match reviews, match analysis, match previews, etc. But without further ado, let's get on with it. So at the moment, of course, there's no football. Hasn't been football for nearly a month now since got cancelled on, was it March the 12th, I believe, due to the coronavirus. So not been a lot going on at the moment. It's more, just binge watching telly or, driving yourself mad really, especially with Forest not there to ruin your weekends. But at the moment, the players been keeping busy. You see Matty Cash, he's been doing fitness videos, which the club have been posting. Michael Dawson, Joe Worrell, John Bostock have been reading bedtime stories to kids, either on TalkSport or the Forest social media pages. And then you've got Joe Lolly, who's been throwing saucepans over his house. So it's good to see the players keeping active at this time. Bit of fun as well, because you're going to drive yourself insane by doing nothing in the house. So just to have that little interaction with the players is good to see, knowing that they're all right, keeping fit. Joe Worrell also did a quiz, Forest quiz. So good to see they're still interacting with the fans, because I still think it's a big part of the game, really. We go to support them, they're still supporting us. Well, really in our time of need, they're also bored, so they're looking for something to do. But do digress. But the big news coming out of Forest today was that some of the staff have been placed on furlough. The non-playing staff, that is, have been placed on furlough, which, for people who don't know what furlough is, they're placed on temporary leave whilst the club's shut, and they can claim to up to 80% of their wage from the government, which they will pay. I see the decision, why it was made, because, of course, Forest aren't open. They're not doing anything at the minute. The club shop's shut. It's not an essential business that needs to stay open. Been reading through Twitter this afternoon, and some fans aren't happy, which I can understand. Especially the non-playing staff have been laid off. I mean, you're not going to lay the playing staff off, but you talk about how much they earn. And what they couldn't take a 5k pay cut each. If all the Forest squad took a 5k pay cut and that paid off the fans, I mean, I'm not a financial advisor or a financial director, so I wouldn't know how, if that would help Forest, like, balance the books and be able to pay the staff as well. But it certainly would help. I feel like there's been a lot of negativity in the Premier League teams who've done it. Liverpool, although they performed a U-turn, whether or not that was due to the backlash they got. Tottenham have done it. A few Championship clubs have done it as well, and it's they've not. I mean, I don't think people, if you're not a multi-millionaire and you work hard for your money, they're not going to be understanding. And if you only earn a certain amount a month, I see people aren't going to be unhappy that they're still paying these astronomical wages to players, but can't support their staff in this time. Who have bills to pay. How they're going to pay them at this time. It's a very difficult time at the moment. Of course, we never know how long this is going to last. What's going to happen in the future with this. Of course, it's a revolt if people decide that they don't want to work for a club now who's not supported them in their time. Forest then are recruiting new people. I don't know the exact ins and outs of who they've laid off. Is it just people who work in retail and canteen staff who they pay on a match day, programme sellers? Although they're not big jobs, they still need doing on a match day, and people still enjoy doing it. So will Forest then face the revolt of people saying, well, you didn't support us in our time when we needed you, so we're not going to support you now you're back? It's a tough one, especially because I don't really understand all this sort of stuff, like the political side of football with money and stuff like that. Obviously, with this furlough, I don't really know. The only reason actually I knew what it meant was because I did a bit of research just before I started recording this. But other than that, I don't really get it. So I don't really want to put my opinion in for something that I could be completely wrong about, or it's a sensitive subject to some people. My aim is just to talk about football and what I know. But obviously, upon reading this, it was interesting to see. The NFFC hashtag on Twitter, which, as you're probably all aware, is a lively space. Sometimes, what majority of decisions were they weren't happy with the decision that Forest had decided to do. People were using the words such as disappointed and disgusted. So you get it. It's not going to have the reaction you wanted when you do that, especially, of course, I've read people say Marianakis has got the money to back his staff. Yes, to a certain extent. What is he gonna do now? Is he going to perform a U-turn like Liverpool? Is he going to stick with the decision for the foreseeable future? So it's interesting, but like I say, I'm not the best expert on this. I'm not going to sit here and preach from the rooftop saying like it was the wrong decision, it was the right decision. If it is true what I read about furlough, that they're not taking the pay cuts, the players aren't. I do disagree with that, especially because some players are probably earning about 20k, could easily just say to whoever runs the finance at the club or their wages, just look, I'm happy just to take even, off the top of my head I won't be able to work out percentages, but just take 2-3 grand off me, give it to people at the club who need help more than me. I think Joe Lolly on Twitter, very active on Twitter, Joe Lolly, and he did say that he'd be more than happy to take a pay cut if Forest did decide this. So people are now waiting to see what his response to this is. What will he do? What will he decide? But Joe Lolly sees the type that he will follow through with what he says. But it's one to keep an eye on. But again, I'm not going to get into politics now. I've covered that. I mean, I don't think I've covered it very well, but I've done the best I can, and hopefully now, and I talk about football, you'll all understand what I'm talking about. Of course, the big question is after this is what happens when football returns. Say football was cancelled on March the 12th, I believe, a day before Forest went to play Sheffield Wednesday at Hillsborough. And there were so many big questions leading up to that game, especially from both camps. Sheffield Wednesday were in a torrid run of form. Won one of their last 8 league games, and the game before the postponement of all football fixtures, they'd gone to Brentford and lost 5-0. And people were commenting on their timeline and to the club saying we want Gary Monk out. So it would have been a good time for Forest to go and play there. It's a tough place for Forest to go and win. I think in the past few years we've only gone 1-0 once. We won 1-0 and Henry Lansbury scored when Stuart Pearce were in charge. But other than that, it's never really been a happy hunting ground for us. We never seem to get 3 points. And it's what Forest needed at the moment. You look back to Forest last game as well. They lost 3-0 to Millwall live on Sky on a Friday night. Matt Smith scored the hat-trick, and I think there's not one Forest fan that would agree with me saying that they didn't play diabolical. They were awful. They were second best. The game was done before half-time. It's kind of shades of the, ironically, Sheffield Wednesday game at home when we lost 4-0. 4-0 at half-time. Millwall shut up shop in the second half. They get the 3 points, and it's going back to the last few games that Forest have played, especially the Middlesbrough game before that. We played Middlesbrough on the Monday night and we drew 2-2. Probably the last 10 minutes we did start to become the better team, but before that we were awful. We were making Middlesbrough, no disrespect to Middlesbrough, but this season they've been dreadful, and we were making them look like leagues above us. We was in the team fighting relegation. So Forest just needed a pick-me-up, and I think Sheffield Wednesday might have just been the ground to go to. It's a tough ground to go to, but we seem to thrive under that this season. We've gone to Cardiff, who'd not lost at home all season. We go there and win. We've beaten Leeds at home. Got a draw at Ellen Road at the start of the season. Got a draw at West Brom. Won at Fulham. So the grounds where we really don't tend to pick up points or do struggle with, we do look like we can get a win there, and especially with Sheffield Wednesday, the form that they were in. it would have been easy for Forest to turn up, play the game they play, and get 3 points and get back on track. I think automatic promotion is a long shot now. There is half a chance, but I think now Forest got to focus on the playoffs. Especially if you look at the gap, Millwall's win did take them 6 points behind us, and in the Championship, 6 points is no. You're not going to get the playoffs if you carry on the run of form you're on. Two defeats, 2 wins for Millwall. We find ourselves out of the playoffs, and a few weeks ago when we beat Leeds, we did not think this was possible, and now it's like Forest needed something to come in, stop the rot, and pick up again. On the flip side, though, would the break do us good? Would the break come back refreshed? The key injuries, Sambasar was one of them. People say, we needed him back, and of course, you look at the record with him in the squad. I think we've only lost once when he has been playing. Other than that, we not tasted defeat, and ridiculous stat really for someone. I think he just controls that tempo in midfield as well. I think breaks up play, works nicely with Ben Watson. Ben Watson sits at home if Samba wants to just push up a bit more. Support. Thiago Silva, he can do that, but then he's got the legs to get back. He's just a bit injury prone, which Forest don't seem to have the best of luck with. But now he'll be back. We'll have a few people refreshed. I think Lolly, on that Millwall game in the second half, or is it the Middlesbrough game, he looked absolutely shattered, and he just needed that break just to get himself back into the stride and get ready for the last push of the last 9-10 games of the season, and of course hopefully the playoffs as well. When that gets completed, I don't know. We don't know when football's going to return, and of course we're going to need like a mini pre-season for everyone to get back up to speed. You couldn't just expect the government and the Premier League say, right, you're allowed back into the ground. They allow back into the grounds, football's back, there you go. No, it's going to be a gradual process. Things are going to come back. Again, though, we're talking about how Forest are going to react. Sheffield Wednesday as well. Of course, they'd lost, like I say, to Brentford, only won one of the last 8 league games. Their last home game, they were 3-0 down at half-time against Derby, and there were questions being asked to Gary Monk, so it's just how does Gary Monk react to that? Does he carry on the same tactics, and the players, he's lost the players, and now he's just going to try and limp Sheffield Wednesday to the end of the season? Or is he just going to say, right lads, we've got 9-10 games left, show me what you can do, play for this club, get your contract next season, if not you're out the door, I'll bring my reinforcements in and we'll give it a good push? Because they look like a time where Sheffield Wednesday were going to give the playoffs a right old go. I think before they went on this slump, I think they drew 0-0 with Millwall, and they were in where Millwall's position are now. They're only 6 points off the playoffs, and it seems like no one wants the playoffs at the moment. All the teams below Forest certainly don't really have, they've had that chance. The door's been ajar, but they've just opted to close the door on themselves rather than take the chance. Same with Forest, really. There was that gap. Yeah, I think it was the Middlesbrough game. We had the chances to show people what we could do, and we meant business, but we went there and played poorly, and it does look like playoffs. There's obviously, of course, we're talking as well, does the season end? Does the football season just end and we start again? I've been asked this question by a few people, a few Forest fans, would you be bothered? And pretty selfish reason, I said no, because I won't be bothered because of the position we're at. I think you talk about to a Leeds fan or a West Brom fan, they'd be bothered because they're in the top 2. And of course, I think every Forest fan would speak for myself. I speak for them as well. If Forest were in the top 2, if someone said the season needs to end, we'd be like, no, not a chance. We don't want the season to end, not at all. But we're in 4th. The playoffs aren't certain. I don't think, some Forest fans will say, oh, they are. We just need X amount of wins. Some Forest fans will say, if we keep playing like that, no, we won't finish in the playoffs. And I agree with that. If we keep playing as poorly as we have been, certainly off the last 2 games, we're not going to get anywhere near them playoffs. And at the same time, I don't want to be the team that get hammered in the playoffs. I want to be the team, because obviously Forest's last 2 playoff campaigns, I've been confident. We've been a very good side them 2 seasons. I won't say we've not been a good side this season, but there's just that case of Forest aren't on their A game, or we get found out early on, we get hammered. It's happened on a few occasions. The record against the top 6, yes, it looks good, but we're also talking, a playoffs is a different picture. It's a lottery, so I think that's why I wouldn't bother if the season did end, because anyone could go up. Anyone could sneak into that 6th spot. We play them in the final, because I don't think we'll get 3rd now, and then we could lose. You don't know what's going to happen in the playoffs. If we were sat 2nd now and they went continue the season, we know we just needed a few wins, we're up. Of course, I'd be saying no, we're not cancelling the season. But it's going to get to a point where something needs to happen. Of course, are we eating into next season? What happens to next season? I don't think I'd want to give up next season so this season could be finished, because it's been 4 weeks without football, and it is the worst 4 weeks of my life. I thought pre-season was bad, but this is, at least pre-season, stuff going on outside the club, signings, contracts, kit launchers, pre-season friendlies, transfer rumours. There's nothing like that at Forest at the moment, because it's still middle of the season. So I don't want to miss the majority of next season, or have a whole season written off, which potentially could happen, just because we want to finish this season. It's going to get to a point where they do need to say, like, do we carry on, or do we void it? I think whatever way it goes, it is going to cause controversy. I think the most humane thing would be to finish it. Obviously, I know Forest fans want that, but if they didn't, I think they could all laugh at Leeds and Liverpool. So it'd be. I don't think it's a win-win for them. But of course, the government have also the Football League, UEFA have been talking about playing matches behind closed doors, which we've seen towards the back end of the Champions League games. Valencia played Atalanta. PSG's closed door game with Borussia Dortmund. I'm not a big fan of it. I just think it's so. I'm trying to think of the right word. Like, dull without fans. It's like watching an under 23 game and there's no really fans there. Like Atalanta playing their first season in the Champions League, beat Valencia on their own patch, 4-3 in the end, 4-2. Terrific away performance to go through to their first Champions League quarter-final. And they had no fans to celebrate it with. I know there wouldn't have been many fans travelled from Italy to Spain for the game, but there was no fans. You had the cheer, but it was probably from, when you heard it, watch the highlights back, it was from the teammates and the directors who made the trip over. But football without fans is nothing. And I think as well, to be this close to seeing, in my lifetime, watching Forest play in the Premier League, to not be able to watch that potentially unfold, like say the playoff final at Wembley behind closed doors, it'd be heartbreaking not be able to do it, to watch Forest. Great day out at Wembley, and I've never been to the new Wembley, so to go there and watch my team play there, potentially to win promotion, it would mean everything. And just to have to watch it on telly behind, with no fans there, it's not even like you can go to the pub. There's been games that I've not been able to get to the Forest match, and I've watched it at the pub. And I think it was the West Brom game when we drew 2-2 in February. Just everyone, the whole joy when we scored that 90th minute equaliser, everyone like jumping around. It wouldn't be so bad if you could do that if you couldn't get a ticket, but if you couldn't go to the pub or even go to the game, and to sit and watch it from your own city, yeah, you get to watch it, but it just wouldn't be the same. But whatever happens, I feel like it needs to be the right decision. As much as I hate not having football, it doesn't need to be rushed, this decision. They need to make sure that it's something they want to do at the right time, and it's safe to do so, because I don't know when this infection rate's going to slow down again. Like I say, I'm more than anything, as it one-dimensional as it sounds, The only thing that I'm interested in is, when football's coming back, my safety and my family's safety, everyone else's safety. So as long as the government say it's safe to come back, then football says, right, you're safe to go to a football match now without having to worry about if you're being in contact with someone who's had it and you're going to catch it, then that's fine. I don't want to rush the decision, but I think, like I say, it must get to a point where they do look at themselves and think, right, we need to decide what we do with this season. And going on to that, of course, if they decide to void the season or close the season, we talk about the contract situation. There's been rumours that, player contracts who expire will carry on. I said Willian at Chelsea is the big one that people are saying, like, well, he can continue playing. He can do that now, but cause I don't know if he can negotiate. I mean, I saw Thomas Muller signed a new contract with Bayern Munich today, and he managed to sign a new contract. So surely it wouldn't take 2 minutes just if Forest wanted to sign a new contract, send it over, fax it over like they would do with a transfer, sign it, and then I don't know how it works, but surely you could be able to do that. But we don't know what's happening with the club, but there's 3 key people at this club at the moment who are out of contract in the summer, and it's probably now getting to the time where what they're going to do. The first one being Ben Watson. What revelation he's been. I mean, with football not being back, I probably will do a lot more podcasts on talking about like my players of the season and stuff like that. And Ben Watson certainly is up there for player of the season. Is ridiculous, like how he's turned this form around. I say I'll go into it more depth in podcast later on down the line. But someone who's been imperative to our season, someone who we needed. Especially with Sam Basso not being fit all the time. Ben Watson is added that experience in midfield as well. Obviously, Michael Dawson was in there, but now he's lost his place to Tobias Figueiredo. Ben Watson's just added that element of calm next to Ryan Yates. Obviously, there's been a debate about whether Ryan Yates should get into should be in the team. But Ben Watson, at the start of the season, everyone wrote him off, including myself. I'm not gonna lie. I wanted Jack Cole back, but he's come in and proved everyone wrong. And I feel like he does need to. He needs support. He needs to show. Like Forest need to show him that the support that he's shown us by sticking by us and sign that new contract. But when that is, I don't know. I think Watson will get a new contract. I think that's given how he's been. The big one for me, I'll go on to the biggest one in a minute. I think you can all guess who it will be. But another big one for me, and one I'm sat on the fence with, is Amiobe. Again, when he signed, I mean, I'm going to sound like I'm such a negative when it comes to Forest. I mean, some people will relate to this comment, but can you blame me when how it's been in the past few years? So when we signed Amiobe, it was kind of like, we have all this money, why are we going for someone who, got relegated with Bolton? Of course, it wasn't Amiobe's fault, and it wasn't Bolton's fault due to obviously their finances, but he's been fantastic sometimes. One of the most frustrating players to watch, though. He definitely hasn't, set the world alight. No, but there's some games where you look at him and think, Jesus Christ! Like, I remember the few bits of skill at the start of the season at Leeds, beat 2 or 3 players, and it's like, Jesus, like them long legs somehow can transform into this like skillful wing wizard. His communication with Graben as well. He's set up loads of Graben's goals this season. Popped up with a few vital goals himself. So you talk about players that you want. I should have really done a poll on Twitter actually, like see what Forest fans would have said. I think I said it to someone else who supports Forest alongside me, who I go to the games with my cousin. I said to him, I'd give Amiobi another contract if we didn't go up. I think if we went up, would he be a good squad player? Maybe, but I think we could get someone else in better. But if we don't, give him another year, see how he does, see how he develops. as going forward and see if he can perform again, and then give him a shot. Because he's played in the Premier League before. It hasn't quite worked out for him, has it? Like, let's be honest. But some players, it doesn't work out for them, and then they go to another club and they do well, and vice versa. So it'd be interesting to see what happens with that one, especially because he was such an unknown quantity, and now it's like that left-hand side. Now he's one of the first names on the team sheet, which you never thought you'd say at the start of the season. You know, there isn't many people that, you know, brought Adoma in. Adoma and Amiobi can play in the same position. You know, obviously Lolly takes the other side. He's not moving from that team. So who did Sabri go for? He picked Amiobi, and now we see that Albert Adoma's gone to Cardiff and Amiobi stayed. So obviously Lamucci likes something in him. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with that one as well. I'm not as confident as the Watson one if Amiobi will get a new contract. Maybe his performances and how many games he's started maybe see that, but well, he does think, you know, we've got a transfer window now, we can go and buy someone. It'll be interesting to see how that one pans out. And of course the big one is Mr. Lamucci, Sabri. I don't know how he hasn't signed a new contract yet. Anyway, before any of this started, you know, even if Forest were, you know, I think we were meant to play Derby, as we're recording this, we was meant to play Derby at Pride Park at the weekend, and that would have been a full month since the Millwall game, and he still wouldn't have signed a new contract. Or at this moment in time, he wouldn't have signed a new contract. Whether or not that would have changed due to the situation, I don't know. But how are we allowing this to happen? This is a man, in my opinion, has installed faith probably since the Billy Davies era, and on his first takeover, when he first managerial stint. Sorry, not the second stint. You know, the less said about that, the better. But you know, Billy Davies installed like we could go up, and the same with Lamucci. We don't play the attractive brand of football. We play the counter-attacking football. You know, we don't win games with possession as much as, you know, some fans might think. Rival fans think, oh, Forest play rubbish football. It doesn't matter as long as we get results, and this bloke's doing this for us. You know, he's installed a real feel-good factor back to the club. Probably not had this much of a connection with a manager since Stuart Pearce, I'd say. Martin O'Neill it was, but results went downhill very quickly. But Stuart Pearce was, you know, club legend, and after that, he installed, you know, belief for a bit, and then obviously it went sour. We still stuck by him. But Lamucci has, you know, brought this feel-good factor to the club, and it's like, can we get back to the Premier League for the first time since '99? You know, can he take us up? There's all these questions, and it's like, why is he not signing this new contract? He clearly likes it here. He said that before, you know. But it's not going to be long until football does return, and the manager is starting to get to the end of the season, and club owners are thinking, right, we need someone here. Oh, that Lamucci's done alright for Forest. Let's try and get him. And the offer of attractive Premier League football, you know, I think it was Watford, Wolves, Arsenal even. I mean, they were odd with Sky Bet. Like, they throw some names in, but it shows he's still being linked with teams. And I don't think he'd have, you know, he'd have loads of suitors for clubs going forward. He definitely, you know, might be on top of some people's wish list, and Forest needs to act quick, because no matter what happens this season, if we go down, if we don't finish in the playoffs, he's built a squad that was up there this season that he can build on next season and start that push again. And you know, who knows? With a few, you know, there's been a few hiccups with Lamucci. You know, the team sheets against Wigan and Charlton stand out. Wigan away and Charlton at home, where we thought, why have you made that many changes, and it come back to bite us. And obviously last time we look at them games where you feel like, you know, no disrespect to Rafa Mir, but he was terrible. And he started him against Millwall. Yeah, we're losing 1-0. Grabban comes on. Grabban scores 2. It's to turn the game. So there was decisions like that, which was kind of, you know, what we need to, you know, what's he doing? But other than that, they're probably like little minor bumps, which I think after the Charlton game, if you listen to his interview and some of his quotes, you knew he made a mistake. So now I think he's learned that if Forest don't go up this season and he stays, when that happens this time next season, he knows he's not going to put out. Maybe changes do need to be made because there was a few injuries, but not as many changes. So it's a tough one, but I don't know why Forest it's took them this long, especially after the turn of the year. Again, I said my cousin and I we both said Lamucci would be gone by December, and when we went on that December slump, we did turn around to each other and said, "Oh, here we go." But we do support Forest. We don't just like slag them off. We do actually support them. But some of the things I've said about Ben Watson, Amiobi, and Lamucci in this past probably little segment, you probably think that I just go to the club and be negative. It isn't the case, as you'll see in probably late podcasts later on down the line. But yeah, as we said, and then obviously we turned it around, great bit of form, beat Leeds, and after that Leeds game, would it have been foolish to offer him a contract? I don't know, but because that was the time where I thought, Jesus, we could do this, we could go up, and obviously Charlton. A few days later, I was like, oh, okay, no, this is what this club does to you. But I think he should have been offered a contract by now, and if it's not done soon, Forest is going to come back to bite Forest. But we'll just have to see all this pans out. But yeah, thanks for listening to episode 1. As you know, it's my first podcast. Been a bit nervous, so apologies if there were some things that didn't make sense, or you thought I was talking absolute waffle. But hopefully, if a bit more practice and a few more episodes in, I'll be doing all right. But just want to say, stay safe. Just also finally a bit of sad news that come out of Forest today as well, that Kevin Rosen, a steward that's been with the club for 10 years, has passed away due to the virus. So my thoughts go out to his friends, family and loved ones at this difficult time, and I hope he rests in peace, and hopefully when the club gets back on the pitch we can pay a heartfelt tribute to Kevin. But yeah, so that was episode 1 of All Things Trentside. I hope you've liked what you've listened to. There is more to come, so if you have liked what you've listened to, give us a subscribe or follow me on Twitter, and hopefully I can do more of these and people will enjoy listening. But yep, thanks, and as I say, stay safe, and hopefully football will be back.